People sentenced in the 80s-2000s. What modern world change shocked you the most? I remember getting the bus years ago and this old bloke got on heading away from town center towards the more residential areas. Without a second thought he sparked up a cigar. One of the passengers told him you can't smoke on a bus. He apologized and quickly stubbed it out but said he got discharged from prison that day, and when he went in you could smoke anywhere you wanted, so this was a massive culture shock to him. You have been sentenced to 10 years for smoking on the bus. Aw duck. Ah shit, here I go again. Anthony Ray Hinton described people walking around looking at down these things in their hands, phones, and amazingly not bumping into each other. Ow, on the day you were released, your best friend, Lester Woe, had visited you every single week for nearly 30 years, picked you up. You'd been behind bars since 1985. So you got in his car, and what was the first thing you wanted to do? RH, Lester thought I'd want to get something decent to eat. But I wanted to go where they laid my mother's body. I see him messing with the radio dial, then we start driving down the road. I heard this little white lady say, in 1/10 of a mile, turn right. I jumped and said, what the hell? Ow, he thought there was a white lady in the car. RH, yes, and Lester's laughing so hard he has to pull over. He says, that's a GPS. When he explained what it does, it really hit me how long I'd been locked up. The world had changed. Got a call from a woman filing a claim on some abandoned funds. I got all her information and then asked for an email address and she said, what's email? I keep hearing about it, but you gotta understand I've been in prison a long time. I'm honestly surprised there aren't mandatory classes in prison that help keep people up to date on current events and technologies. It would go a long way to help ex-cons function normally in society once they get out, and isn't that the whole goal of the prison system? Do you think they'd cover modern memes in juvie? Finally, a good idea on how to get community service hours. Memes 101, Dancing Baby. Prisoner transfer I did one time for this man who was sentenced to life in 1968, and it's the first time he'd driven past the CN Tower in Toronto and he couldn't believe how tall it was. That and he was blown away by how many different car brands there were. Duck, 1968 is a long time. Especially in Canada, my dad was sentenced to 8 years for manslaughter. He got off easy. My cousin's husband that she married while he was serving 10 years beginning around 2008, one of the first thing he did as a free man was to go to Hollywood Video and rent movies to watch with her. Then she blew his mind with Netflix. At least the idea of Netflix and chill wasn't far from his original plan, but he was shocked about there not being video stores anymore. Without sounding disrespectful, what made her marry someone while they were serving time? Did she already know him? I'd imagine that would be a very difficult decision to commit yourself to someone you know you can't properly be with for 10 years. You don't have to answer if this question is too personal. They dated before he got busted. She's somehow responsible for getting busted. No matter what year you go in, when you come out and stand on carpet for the first time is the most disturbing feeling. Oh whoa. I felt this one. And darkness. Being able to be in 100% darkness, again, freaked me TF out for a while. Darkness, complete silence, showering without sandals, couches, chairs with cushions, and a bed that's actually long enough for me. Those were such odd yet amazing feelings to experience again. I kept leaving sinks running after I got out. They don't turn themselves off every 5 seconds in the real world. Knew a guy who was blown away by digital cameras. He had purchased an old, terrible one and couldn't get over how amazing it was. Cameras truly have come a long way, and here people on Instagram trying to find 15-30 years old cameras for aesthetic. Ranalog. It isn't just Instagram. Not throwing shade either, I love that aesthetic. I was talking to a lady who runs the education for a federal prison in Florida. She said when they start getting rambunctious or off topic, she mentions a new feature of the newest iPhone and all of a sudden they're very interested in what she has to say again. That's pretty clever. News from the outside world. I hired a guy that was released after 17 years, circa 2005. A week after he started working he bought a phone. He had a childlike wonder with push-to-talk and texting. A week later he was pissed off that he couldn't text his order into Hungry Howie's. TBH, valid thing to be pissed off about. A co-worker a few years ago had spent 10 years in jail. He got out right when Bluetooth headsets for phones were huge. He'd talk about all the random conversations he thought people were trying to have with him, and smartphones freaked him the hell out. Well, tell him it's okay. I was confused a few times by those two. #X200B, once I thought a woman had a mental problem because she was talking to herself. Then she turned and I saw the earpiece. Bluetooth headsets are a godsend to schizophrenics everywhere. Smile. A friend said his dad's friend tried VR after about 30 years in prison for like second-degree murder or something, and he got scared, fell over and broke the headset. Not me personally, but we had an older guy rent out a room in our house a few years back. Usually we rented it out to students, but someone let us know that he had just moved to our city and needed something temporary until he found permanent accommodation. It was a bit frustrating because this guy would not use the internet to search for a car or place to live. Didn't know how it worked and didn't trust it. We tried to help him learn how because we thought he was just old and stubbornly resisted technology, but nope. Turns out that he had spent 11.5 years in maximum security prison after being framed, by WA police, for murder in the mid-90s. Came out with trust issues and a dislike for the new internet. Edit, Western Australia, not Washington Police. And here's his Wikipedia page for those interested in his case. Was it this guy? Yes. I just found out that he was killed in a car accident recently. Poor guy got dealt a rough hand. Ducking hell, man. Sounds like a setup. I've seen Secret City. Government wanted that money back. Sort of joking aside, that's really terrible. Obligatory, not me, but. In the early 2000s I worked with a guy that was sentenced in the mid-80s and had just come out. He told me the first time he went to a men's room he spent several minutes looking for the handle to flush. Motion sensor toilets was completely alien to him. Motion sensor toilets is still completely alien to me. I thought you meant he didn't know what to do with the button flush, or the 3 seashells. Oh yeah, for sure those can be a pain in the ass if no one has shown you how to use the 3 seashells. There was that documentary of someone who was sentenced in the 70s, Otis I think, and he just couldn't believe the stuff he was seeing. Since he lived in New York, with all the screens it was just a different city than all the different colored drinks and people wearing earphones like they were in the Secret Service. It's an interesting thing to watch. I was pretty surprised at the rise of e-commerce. I never thought it would be more convenient than a brick-and-mortar store. I was sentenced to some community service in 1997 for a traffic violation. The world up and got itself in a big damn hurry. It's hard work and I try to keep up, but my hands hurt most of the time. Get busy living or get busy dying. Brooks was here. My friend got out of jail recently and was blown away by how many LEDs are everywhere and how many stores are using insane amounts of LED billboards. We were all at a buddy's house and he was blinded by all the bright LED light in the house. #X200B, edit, getting a lot of messages about this. My friend has crazy bright LED bulbs in his kitchen. You can see this guy's kitchen from space. Also, the one sign that he couldn't believe was an LED wall. Not me, but one of the most astounding changes I hear one of my dad's friends talking about is how having big asses was shameful and all models were flat. Now it's the other way around. Sir Mix-a-Lot's impact, it assume. Not my personal experience, but a man I worked with after he was released from prison after being sentenced as a young adult was blown away by the touchscreen ordering at Wawa and could not fathom why the employees could not take an oral order from him. I remember when I was about 8 or 9 using my first touchscreen in an office my friend's mom worked in. It was crap and hard to use. I thought it was amazing and futuristic. I often think back to that moment and marvel at how much they've improved and how I used one every day. I was thinking, wow, he uses a touch screen every day. Then I remembered I was literally holding a tiny touch screen computer that also acts as a phone, so,